Hello, living in Boulder vlog. I took some time off from the videos because I like started not working so much, I guess, on my site. Started working on side projects. Um, yeah. Um, oh, but I have, since I did the video, yeah, I was hanging out with my mom a few times. We didn't go on a bike ride. I think we did. She brought me a pizza the other day. I'm kind of like high right now. Anyway, I've been working on this project, creeks of um, Boulder and lakes for like a month. So for me, that means that's kind of like I don't know if I've like ever worked on something for more than a month. It's usually like 3 weeks or a month, and then I'm kind of bounce. It's my style. And then I'm like totally not afraid to start new things too. Um, but yeah, so when I first started working on this, I was like, you know, let's just go into cruise mode and just work on it for a long time. So yeah, now I'm thinking instead of bouncing, I'm just like, let's just keep doing it. When I get into the rhythm of it, I'm like really into it. It's just kind of like addictive. I've mentioned this a bunch of times. It's like that movie Star Trek, or that episode on Star Trek where Next Generation, where all the people are like get addicted to some like video game that the Borg gives to like incapacitate everybody. It's like a ping pong game that they do in their brain. Um, yeah, it's kind of addictive like that. It's fun. And then of course I get more and more ideas. I got this idea last night as I was working because I have been working. Yeah. Um, okay, so you color code it. Well, I mean, I think I'm gonna do all the different color combos. So I'm gonna color it like 1 through 4 from the four big main creeks, like North St. Vrain, South St. Vrain, 4 Mile Creek, Boulder Creek, and South Boulder Creek, and like 1, 2, 3, 4. But then last night I got this idea: you do them color coded based on um, ba- ba- I'm like really high based on what level they are. So the river, like the creek, the main one would be pink, level 1. And then the creeks that go off of it are gonna be orange, level 2, and then the ones that go off of that are yellow, level 3. And so when you look at it from a distance, you know, you can see immediately like how many levels are at all of them. I was like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, and then when I'm done, make the tree, make a bush that emulates the creeks of the mountains. That'll be really cool. I think I want to do that. Oh, I also traced, I don't know if I mentioned this. I found this big crop circle. There's a crop circle. The aliens came down kind of like right outside of town, and they wanted to get cheeky, so they, you know, in the fields, they mowed down something that says whatever the name of the neighborhood is, which I can't remember. Green Field or whatever, Green Valley. And then 2 astronauts and like a flying saucer, I think, or something. Anyway, that was really cool. So I drew it, or I'm drawing it. I'm almost done. It's kind of complicated. So you can see it. And then somebody did a peace sign. Some farmer did a peace sign, and you can see it from because I did a movie file for it. Oh man, God, I can't remember anything. I want to say 30,000. I think, yeah, I think maybe you can read it from 30,000 feet. That's like they specifically made it big enough to read it from the airliners. see it. But anyway, so I drew that. And then yeah, but I mean, it's just like a lot of work because it's like you have to. Because in the beginning, I was just organizing, and then I get more detailed as I go along. All the different sections have all their information, and then I put it together for the bigger creek. And yeah, it's just really time consuming. And I was trying to remember. I'm like saying that I was doing other work, but then I like forgot. Yeah, but then I remembered. The other work that I was doing was Cobra Kai stuff. I was I watched Cobra Kai the other day, and I was like, oh, let's throw the fighter levels in it for my fighter page. So I built that really quick for a couple hours last night. Anyway, because that kind of goes in line with my website, like levels and like imagining stuff. So that's the first time anybody ever really started doing that. At least that I've seen on a big scale. Dungeons and Dragons type of stuff applied to TV show. Um. Anyway. So. Yeah. So since the last time I did the video, I think I like wasn't talking to my mom because I was all mad. But then she called and wanted me to go over there, and she made me this like really nice like salad and this bowl of beans. And she's like, "Hey man, I saw your like we weren't talking. I saw your video, and you trash me saying I was stupid and stuff." And I was like, don't do that shit. Like I'm too old for that." So I was like, "Okay, what else do I can do?" Um, I can see so because she's got some weird like hang up where she can't sign a sheet saying that she won't tell me to get a job if I start riding my bike all the time, even if I don't ever talk about money problems, which then freaks me out. So I was like, okay, so I'll just work on my website another year until it gets to the point where it won't freak me out. And she's like, um, so that's what I'll do. Because it doesn't even matter anyway. If I was to try to do it now, it would, and it'd make me mad. But it doesn't matter, because I don't even want to. But I haven't been hanging out with that much anyway, though, because I've been nocturnal, and our schedules just do not match. She's been inviting me. She's been swimming at my apartment pool. I've been wanting to go, but she just goes at the time that doesn't work for me. She's not really all that much of an early bird, and I kind of that's when I'm still up early, but then I go to sleep later. Like lately, my sleep schedule has been really bizarre. Yeah, like it's what is it? What time is it? Like 12:30. So yeah, this is like me waking up at 12:30 in the morning. Usually 12:30 in the morning is like noon time for me. So I was working last night. I got more weed and I was smoking way too much, and my lungs fucking collapsed on me last night, like twice. I basically like passed out while I was working and forgot to turn off the TV and earphones and I mean put the earphones in the case and I was laying there like all relaxed, like sleeping, and then my lungs, man, like I just stand up and fucking freaky as hell. Oh my god. At first I was telling my doctor I was gonna go on a meet, but then I decided not to because I was doing well. That I thought it was first thought it was my lungs collapsing, but then I thought it was my throat flap here. But then last night it was happening. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think my fucking lungs are collapsing. Felt like it wasn't just here. Now it was like all through. Oh my god. So I have to like cut down on the smoking. That's what was crazy. Way too much. I was listening to like a lot of like Iggy Azalea and working on. Ugh. Anyway. Yeah, but I like just. Um. Yeah, passed out and woke up. So, anyways. Now another thing. I think I should say this. I'm gonna have to eventually say it publicly, so I might as well say it now. Just once. And then if I have to, whatever from now on, I'll just speak accordingly. So I have sucks to have to say this. publicly, but I think I had to switch bitches. Um, Kirsten wouldn't, you know, send me this transcript. Ah, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not supposed to talk about people. And she's yeah, private. So anyways, I think I'm gonna start switch over to Paula. She's been hovering about lately. So um do, 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 do. If I mean if Kirsten whatever. Um it's not like I'll shut her out. I'm just not gonna give her the status she wants. So then like but Paula anyway. Paula has that's enough. Paula has a kid, two kids, but she seems to like my idea more or less. Uh, um, if you're a YouTuber, don't ever fucking get yourself involved with people who try to censor what you say and don't want to get filmed. That's all I have to say. Um, Paul's not like that. So, um, Paul has a kid. Paul has two kids. Paula likes my idea. Even though maybe she not doesn't totally, you know. I'm the only person who's like passionate about my whole bike school idea, and like in a way that like understands it, wants to talk about it and stuff. I get other people who will like lip service it, like Kirsten and Paula and my mom. Those are actually the only three people who do. But Paula gives enough, and so anyways, whenever she's always like, oh, okay, so she has a daughter who's 14, and so maybe she wants to get back together with me and help. Maybe I can recruit. What I'm saying is maybe I can. That's what I told Paula. Maybe I can recruit her daughter to be the guinea pig. The timing might work out. The guinea pig for my bike school project. Because if you read my website, my whole like mission in life, the whole reason I'm down here, is the automation of society. Okay, so like they're doing AI. We're all confused about AI and what's it called? AI and UBI. And I saw this video, man. Some girl, and I don't remember her name. Okay, it's like some girl finance or something. It's her YouTube channel. This Australian girl. I think she like lives on a farm or something. And I guess she's one of these wealth advice people. But she had a video, right, that titled UBI is an evil plot to dangerous evil plot or whatever that you need to watch out for or whatever. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what is it? Okay. Every once in a while, I watch a finance person talk about that, like Peter Schiff, who's crazy, who like his whole thing is fucking taxes are bad. Don't pay taxes. My dad died in jail because he didn't pay taxes. He's a war hero. It's fucking crazy. But at the same time, he's saying shit like UBI sucks and like you need to get rid of like minimum wage or whatever. Anyway, so this chick is saying that like that she didn't even say anything. she just spouts out a bunch of details about like what they projections, financial projections about it, and then I think the general. I'm like really high. I got up and I smoked a bunch of weed. The general idea is that like people are going to be lazy and not do it, right? So nobody's given the song of how sung the song of how it works, and also people are all scared of what's it, AI, and you get Elon Musk out there like on like um, um, Joe Rogan, like I tried to warn people about AI, but nobody listens. Once the cat's out of the bag, then there's no putting it back in. Okay, so you know, so everybody's worried, and Elon Musk and all of his like worshippers are afraid of AI because the cat's gonna jump out of a bag and not get back in and like take over everybody, and then like the computers are gonna utilize UBI to like dumb everybody down, and so then we're gonna become slaves of the computer and do like karate fighting in like gun time or whatever that's called, dressed in leather. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, nobody sings the sacred sanctimonious song of like how it all works. So you need to my major point is you need to automate society, dude. Like everybody's talking about automating computers. Yeah, and it's fun playing computer games. Their computers are really smart, dude. The little nano chips are so smart, so tiny. So you can do program, a top program, and make computer smarty smart. So then you get to make like the rocket ship, and then program rocket ship to go fly over to Mars and land on Mars. Oh, aren't you awesome? And then so then we can use rocket ship to take people to Mars and terraform Mars. Okay, that's fun and everything. Um, it's really expensive. I think the main reason we're going to Mars is so that we can get there before the Chinese. Okay, that's the real reason. Just another space race. Whoever is in control of space is in control of everybody else because you're control of technology. And if you're control of technology, you can shut other people's infrastructure down, win the war. So if the Chinese get control, we're all dead because they're an autocratic dictatorship. So, um, but anyway, AI. And then so then you can design AI to. I haven't read any books on AI. That'll be my next book. The book that I got with my Audible credit this last month is called Generations by Strauss. The very best books. My mom was actually asking me this before, like, what are the very best books on Audible? Because she had all these like Audible credits that stacked up, and I guess if you stack too many Audible credits that you don't use, like they take them away from you. I think that happened to me at one point. A few years ago, I had Audible, but I just wasn't doing Audible. I think I was like listening to books on my site. I think I was listening to stuff, but the next thing I know, I had like six. Next thing I know, I had like three, and I didn't use them. But I'm not totally sure about that. But that's kind of I have vague memories of that. But so, anyways, I'm like, yeah, you need to get Collapse by Jared Diamond. These are the essentials that you need to get. God told you to watch my video so that I could tell you to get these books and read these books. And not just God, but also the 12 Olympian gods. So, Collapse by Jared Diamond is the tale of like 7 different civilizations that collapse. And it's really interesting. Like, they have the first section is Oregon. All of the like people who have money, like rich people, are moving into Oregon, rural Oregon, and buying out all of the rural farmers who live off the land. And so they're transforming that whole area into an economy of just like rich people living off of using money that comes from investments or whatever other locations digitally. And then all of the local people are just kind of going broke and just living in like rented like apartments and getting shoved off their land. And so like if the economy crashes, you know, it could be a little bit difficult. Could get back into the system where we're actually living off the land up there again. Because there's just a bunch of rich people with money who, and then a bunch of poor people up there who got bought out, and it's kind of ripe for the pickings for a collapse. It might be a better idea to allow people to be more locally centered and locally sufficient, basically, in case there is, you know, some kind of a collapse. We can all take care of ourselves. And along that vein, dude, this is kind of like another side project of mine. Well, I haven't done anything, but side project of mine in terms of trying to get it off the ground. It's like maybe I could. Oh, I know what I'll do. Oh my God, I just got the idea now. I'll make a Google Earth model of what I'm talking about, and I'll actually build it, the infrastructure of it. Oh my God, for right here in Boulder. I'll do it here in Boulder, along with it. It'll be part of my Mountaintopia file. That's kind of like maybe like future Boulder, Mountaintopia, and I'll build it on top of where Boulder is. So what it is it's an aeroponic skyscraper that's in the center of Boulder on Pearl Street, and it symbolizes the downtown area, and it's big enough to supply food for the whole town, or at least maybe not the one skyscraper, because if we have height limits, a series of skyscrapers, but it's in the center of town. And you know, inside of the skyscraper, you would have intermixed in it like restaurants, so that there's lots of like terraces on the roof to take advantage of the size of the building. So it's nice to look at. The whole thing would be covered in vines and stuff. But you use aeroponics, and there's this company called AeroGrow, which was invented in Boulder. It's from Boulder, and I hope they're still, aeroponics is doing good. It's you just throw the little phosphorus tablets in there, and then you put a little bit of water, and you're good to go. The stuff just grows. The roots grow in the air, and it grows 5 times faster. And so they have these little ones. They were like $160, like 15 years ago. I want to buy one. I don't have the money now, but I've been spending too much. But yeah, I'll buy those eventually and just get in the habit of growing a bunch. And but so you build them in industrial scale, really big, tall, giant ones. And you just grow, and in the building, and because it grows so fast, and it's a skyscraper or a series of skyscrapers, it's the equivalent of having all these farms. You know, only it's jam packed in a building. You could even, if you live in a place where the ground is soft, you can even dig in the ground and do the arrow growing there. And I don't think the electricity is so much. So anyway, you have it powered by your local power grid, and so then you grow it, and then you would have these little like conveyor belts. Well, not in the beginning, but once it's more developed, just our little tubes just deliver it to the distribution points. And so you go and you just buy fruits and vegetables and stuff. You could have like big giant arrow grows for trees, you know, growing all that stuff. And then you could use that same model for when you have colonies on Mars and the moon. But it's a great way to because the only thing you need is electricity and the little phosphorus tablets, and it's a better way to a more efficient way to utilize the, you know, phosphorus anyway for growing. And as far as making it sustainable for that kind of stuff, I mean, yeah, we'll fucking figure it out. So how to keep the whatever pill you need to let it grow. Um, Raw materials for that. So, and as far as energy, um, a renewable energy could 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 take care of all that kind of stuff. Just use different forms of it depending on where you're from. And anyway, but I also have an idea to do plug in make society um, autopilot. Um, that's kind of the difference between America and Russia. Um, I know like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump and Sean Hannity and Lori Ingram and Janine, whatever, Pirro and all them people think that Russia's the new America and Russia's pretty awesome and they're just doing a peacekeeping operation and Putin is like their best buddy. But Russia is not is the bad model. Russia and China, and America's a good model. Russia and China are the model where one guy gets to decide everything, and they think that that's totally awesome because. See, I've been listening to all the Putin files, the interviews and stuff, and now I'm reading the book. Oh, that's right. I'm saying the book that I got last month. I got the book Generations. That's the book I got last month. The book that I got this month was Oligarchs by Hoffman. Finally remember the guy's goddamn name. Hoffman writes the book Oligarchs. That's another book you have to read, describing how Russia got started after the fall of the Soviet Union. And so Russia is a place that's controlled by one person, and they actually believe like the one person in charge, like whether it's she or Putin, like especially Putin. He doesn't understand the West because he never lived here. He can speak kind of broken English, but he grew up poor, and then he spent his young adulthood, professional life in Dresden, um, just speaking Russian and German and being a spy, a professional spy, like trying to rat people out and stuff. And then goes back to Russia, and he was KGB, and there were 8,000 KGB that were on the loose that didn't have jobs. So he was all pissed off. So then Putin makes the mistake of appointing him as president because he was like a stone person with no emotions, and seemed like and he was young, and so he seemed like he would, and he pretended, he played good pretend, so it seemed like he would be a good leader. So he was appointed, but it turned out he was a autocrat all along, and he just wanted to get back to the old Soviet Union, and so he actually thinks that democracy is bad because he hasn't had enough exposure. He doesn't use computers, so he doesn't even understand the internet or computers. Like the Russians, and I need to go in back and research and know exactly when, but the Russians were trying to do spying with paperwork up until recently. They weren't even using tracking, like trying to spy on people with their social media, because the freaking KGB or FSB didn't even know how to use computers. So, and Putin to this day doesn't. So they're just like retarded. And so Putin actually thinks that he actually thinks that Ukraine is part of Russia, and that he owns all of the old Soviet states. And so he's trying to get it all back. And he blames Ukraine for the breakup of the Russia, so he wants to get them back. And he thinks Ukraine belongs to Russia because Russians like originally come from Ukraine, but Russia comes from Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't come from Russia. So it's like comparing England to America. It's like America invading England. So yeah, that's totally out of line. Anyway, so that's how you have a war in 2022. It's because you have an autocratic dictatorship and nobody can control their country. And so it's the whims of the person. So that's the exact opposite of an automated system. What we live in now is an automated system. So in America, because we drew up the republic, all the rules for the republic, and if we once we evolve and we need to amend, fix our laws, we just amend our laws and keep the main bulk of it, and so that keeps us all in line and as long as we all follow that, we're all okay. And so that's why it's good to try to get into the habit of allowing certain laws to last really long time. Like whoever can hold the laws for the longest time is the best and the most stable, because it's the most difficult to get rid of a law the longer it's been in effect. So that's why America is such a strong country. America is the oldest country in the world. Everybody else modeled their constitution off of America, like you know, France and everybody. So we have the oldest constitution. So 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 we need to continue on that trajectory in our society to make it more and more automated. And so if to examine America and to see what in America mirrors dictatorships from Russia, I point right to the educational system, because the teacher reigns over the classroom like the autocratic dictator reigns over the country. They get to give you the A, B, C, D, F totally arbitrarily. Everybody knows this. Only they try to pretend that it's not arbitrary and that there's a rhyme and reason to it, when everybody knows that it's not. And it's like this elephant in the room thing. It's like the bureaucracy of Russia. Russia Russia's form, Russia's version of our republic with all of our different laws that we follow that keep us in line, and is their bureaucracy. So they write all the laws and then their rules tell them what they get to do. But the problem is they it's like pegging jello to a wall. They just can rewrite it. So like if you want to do anything and then the other gangster on top of you who knows more, has more money, wants to stop you, all he has to do is write in the rule book some stupid little rule that you can't follow, that when you hit that, you hit the roadblock. Oh, look, you can't do it because of this. Haha. And so that's kind of like how we run schools. It happened to me. I got kicked out of school. I hated school the whole time, and then I did all these extracurricular environmental stuff in school and wasted doing more time on that than actual school. It's crazy. And then, but I was doing showed up at all the classes, did all the homework, did all perfectly. I actually did a better job than everybody else. But like in this one class, and then they didn't even let me do my presentation because like he timed it so that everybody else did it, and then there was no time for me. And then he didn't even look at my sheet or have anything, my paper, have anything to say about it. And I was the only one that was better than everybody else's. Like there was this one dude who didn't even do a paper; it was just a card game. Mine was 50 pages long, and then he said he wanted me to do some other thing that didn't make any sense. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, you have bad handwriting. I was like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot. And he's like, I'm not going to give you a grade, and you have to do this. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then he's like, well, I finally had to give you a grade, but it wasn't very good. And I'm like, whatever, dude. But turns out they made a new rule, the bureaucracy, like I was telling about. The rule that I was trying to follow, which kept me in line, kept me a slave to them, was just keep your GPA over 2.5. And so I think my GPA was right at a 2.5. So I was always like, trying to show up on time and do all the homework. But then they made this new rule out of nowhere. If you get a D in one class, then you fail out. That was not a rule. That was a rule that these two fuckfaces put it together. Joe fucking Lounge, who still exists, lives in Durango, Colorado. I should fucking take that. I should fucking force that fuckface to try and do bike school. This goddamn idiot. Luckily, he doesn't work at Fort fucking Loser College anymore. And then there's this guy, Farron Webb. He's like, Dad, you fucking Google this piece of shit. Doesn't even exist. Anyway, but all the teachers, I could drop the names of all of them. Yeah, so then they're like not gonna see, like I was back in school and I was gonna do the student teaching, and I met this teacher, but then like at the last minute, like 1 week before I was supposed to do it, all of a sudden the lady backed out for whatever reason. They didn't give me a reason. Something come up, and it was so late that they couldn't place me. So it was their fucking fault. So that's when I traveled around the world for 2 years, and I went and taught English in Korea for 6 months, and came back and I was like, okay, yeah, let me do the student teaching. You guys got your shit together? Can we do it now? And they're like, oh, you got a D minus in the class. He never said D minus. He said I got a grade, but it wasn't very good. And he didn't say that the grade that wasn't very good was a grade that was going to qualify me for not ever being able to be placed in student teaching. So they kicked me out of student teaching the first time because something came up with a teacher. And then the second time because I got a D minus in the class. Why did they tell me the first time that they weren't going to let me do it because of the D minus? Why did it have to be because of the teacher backed out? Now it's because of the D minus. And then he goes, and also because you took 2 years off. Well, I took 2 years off because you didn't place me. You placed everybody else, but not me. I was the only person who wasn't placed. I was also the only person who wasn't allowed to give my presentation, and the only person who wasn't told about a grade, and who was the only person who was fucking harassed and insulted. And I was the only person who actually had a worthwhile thing. You know what I mean? And that's all because these fucking pieces of shit, Joe Lounge, who I'll get one day. I'll get you, motherfucker. And Farron Webb. Luckily, he's probably dead now. So I hate teachers. And so that's why. And I could go on every single year. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, 11th, 12th. College. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. All of the teachers. Let me drop names. I'll do it one day. I hate all those motherfuckers. I hate you. I hope you die in a fiery fucking pit of hell and you like suffer before you die. Like, that's how much I hate you. But that's our system. That's our system. We have a system. And the whole time I was going to these schools, I'm like begging my parents. I'm like, you idiots, what the fuck? What is this? My dad's like, hey, all this last day, they like you college degree. So I finally stay in the college. I show up. I do all the thing. And then they kick me out. Right? So what does that do? That makes you like hate school. And that makes you like, what if you want to get like a career that requires you, want to get a good job, but you have to go do a couple of years. Now I'm like scared shitless of school. I think the fucking teachers are going to try to backstab me. And I won't even fucking graduate. And I already spent all my money doing the first bullshit that I didn't even want to do. Like, why can't you just jump right into the training? Doctor, boom, without all the prerequisite bullshit. Lawyer, boom. Engineer, boom. None of this college. So, so that's why I tried to major in education. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this stupid college, I might as well. And I should have majored in history, but I did in English because I wanted to write. I never got to write a single thing. Majoring in English basically means going through high school again. They wanted to teach you grammar and I don't even remember any of the classes I took. I'll have to go in and ask for the transcript, but they're so incompetent, they probably wouldn't even find my transcript. I had to find my whatever that test is you take at the end of high school, SAT or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck SAT I got. I was trying to find it I think they wanted it for my education, and CU just ditched me. I went to this office. Nobody was in there. Nobody was answering the phone. I was like, what's your SAT? I don't know what my SAT is. So that's what happens when you have to. It's like government's commie run system. Only you pay for it, and then you pay out of the ass, and then they pay all these professors way too much money, so they sit on their ass, and it's just crazy, 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 crazy. So that's the opposite of a self self correcting society, a self automated society, right? You have people, you have all these computer engineers doing AI, programming programming stuff to computers to get smart and figure this out and figure that out. But we also need like social engineers to just continuously, in the same exact way that you would design a computer to figure out how to, like figure out on its own what the inventory of the hydroponic grow house is, and then go and collect all the extra food, and then figure out what distribution points need to get replenished, and so then it gets the little drones to deliver the food to the distribution points, and then pay the people who maintain it their proper money at the time and keep it all going. Like that's what AI is. AI is never going to be smart enough to program society. Okay, ask Elon Musk to or Lex Friedman to describe how an AI is going to be able to fucking program society. It ain't gonna happen. The only thing that can program society are humans. We're way smarter than AI. Now, if you wanted to do like some kind of like gigabyte RAM memory comparison, that's actually a page on my website. It's incorporated into my biweekly history test with where I divide like short-term memory and long-term memory and all that kind of stuff, subconscious knowledge, conscious knowledge, and all that kind of stuff. But you need humans to design. So that's what a republic is. Okay, a republic, like the Constitution of a republic, is the code is the same thing. Is a human society version. Is the analog to the code of an AI computer that takes care of society. Okay? So it's great that you computer nerds are out there writing code to deliver food to the hungry with their little helicopters and the aeroponic buildings and stuff. But we also need code writers for society, and desperately. Not enough code writers for society. And the reason we know that is because what a code writer of society is supposed to be is a politician. But the politicians now aren't doing code writing for society. They're children playing make believe with like the blue team and the red team. And they're not around, and they're trying to write. They're trying to revert society into writing code just for their own little group of people to control other people who aren't like them, because they're all insulated in their own little societies with their microcosmic, myopic social media, you know, micro ecosystems they've got going on. So they want to be the Christians of their grandparents, because we're all decadent now because people are doing pornography and smoking marijuana and doing gender reassignment and making their hair look weird. And so you got all these people trying to make abortion laws and stuff. And so what we need to go is back to take it seriously with the whole writing code for society, so that it's all self driving, like how America is. That's what America makes America great. And so you don't want some guy, Lord King, who makes all decisions like Donald Trump's idea. You want a democratic society. So so the place that you want to go first off is the educational system. You want to turn the educational system in a kind of like republic, the way our country is, so that you know exactly what you have to do in order to get to a certain level in society. The Chinese have one cool thing, and that is they have this like test. I wanna see if there's a book about that because I want to know what the questions are. But they have like the national exam, and whoever does the highest at the national exam gets to gets to have the pick of the litter of the jobs. It's fucking beautiful. I think it straight traces all the way back down to Confucius. You just set up the laws. This law, this law, this do the da da da, and then if you do it, then go. And that's kind of like it's like the bright side of bureaucracy. But the problem is you can't. When people start making their own rules, and then every year they change the rules. So that's why you want to have rules that stay in countries that stay. So that's why America's so great. So 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 somebody needs to make rules for society and for education, so that you can skip all of the wasting of time. Because people go to school since they're little kids, because they assume, and all through college, because they assume that if you left them to their own devices, they're not going to do anything. Kind of like how people are now. Once they graduate college, they're just done. It's like there's no more growing going on after that. You know, they just get going into their jobs, and the people who need to keep growing and learning are politicians, and politicians just stop in their tracks. They're just part of their team. So we need to get into a system where all of the politicians are intellectuals, and that's always been kind of a problem with America. Our politicians aren't that intellectual. Alex de Tocqueville wrote a book in the 1700s about the difference between Europe and America. And Americans generally aren't as smart. The politicians aren't as smart in America because it's a democracy, and normal people can become the politicians. Where in Europe, it's more of an aristocracy, and the people who get elected into power are already from the rich families, educated, and so they know stuff. They're smart, and so it's kind of like different ideologies. And the American way is better, giving you more power and stuff, but it makes it so that anybody can come in power. Now we have all this campaign finance, no campaign finance laws, so people can just buy people to move in. So you get Lauren Boebert, who's like 32 or something, and then there's that wheelchair guy who's like 24, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene, who doesn't know anything, and then that Herschel Walker, the other guy, the black guy who doesn't believe in evolution, and all these like stupid people becoming politicians, and then they get to rewrite the books, and because they're not intellectuals, they want to be good old like grandkids for their grandparents and rewrite the laws like they were before without any rhyme or reason to it, without any base on logic from knowledge from reading books. So so how do you get back to that, an intellectually driven society? Well, it has to be just like Adam Smith said. It has to be a market-driven based economy with knowledge. So we don't have a market-based driven economy with knowledge now because it's an autocratic-based economy. Doesn't matter how smart you are or how good of work you do. All that matters is how if you're a woman, how many times you have sex with your college professor, or how innocuous you are, how Vladimir Putinian you are in school. Like, I had big old dreadlocks in school. I didn't have the Vladimir Putin haircut. I was fucked. So, because it's all about what the teacher thinks. So, so if you set up a system, then you have to be like points about everything. Points, points, points. Now, I was trying to explain this to my mom, who's 80. This is like 6 months ago or whatever, 3 months ago. And she's like, oh, no, 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 none of that. No. You're not putting nobody on the spot. You're going to make somebody feel like a retard for being stupid. Well, that's the trade-off, man. If you're gonna make it like a one size fits all, and make it so that whoever achieves gets rewarded for that, well then by default there's no escaping that the people who do not do well in that system are going to be exposed for it. Okay, you can't, because you can't have like all these people busting their ass and doing great, but then there's this other group of people who don't want to play. If they don't want to play, but you're playing with this new set of rules, they lose. So that's where all the resistance comes from. You have to. So then they don't even let you do it your way. Because if you do it your way, then their way crumbles, and they need to keep their way. It's like the same exact goddamn thing with Putin in China. Putin needs to stay in power by taking over Ukraine. Because if Ukraine gets strong, then his Russians are going to get jealous of the Ukrainians and topple his ass. So that's what it'll be like. That's why people will get jealous of my system. So what I'm talking about is you just set up a goddamn system. You just set up a point system. That's all it is. Now apparently the SAT thing doesn't work because you don't even, if it's run by the government, you don't even, they have they have your results and you can't find them. Because they're the government and they have the results. Don't let the government run it. You just run it yourself. So what you do is you just take the bull by its horns and you make a website. You take an SAT test. You prove you take an SAT test on your own. You put save the results on the SAT test on your site. And then I designed a biweekly history test where every 2 weeks you sit there just for an hour and you use a random number generator and you take various biweekly history tests, whether it's all of history or like AD or even the 20th century or even maybe 21st century. And so if it's AD, it's just random number generator, the 200 decades between 0 and 2000. And so it goes da 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 da. Okay, this one, number 162. Okay, well, what decade is that? And then you look at the chart and it says, okay, the 162nd decade is like what, 160 or something? I don't even know. No, it would be like 1600 or something. So, and then you go, okay, 1600 to 1610. Okay, what do I remember happened 1600 to 1610? And then you just label it. And then you go in later, and then whichever ones you get from I made the system. It's all on my website. You can look at it now. Whatever ones hit the bullet points of the Wikipedia page, you get a point. And then you just have your point system, and you get your points every week, and then you show people your points with that, and then you do the book reviews on history books, and then you could do other videos about histories about certain countries, historical figures, and then you just pump all that stuff out into the world on YouTube with your videos and then with writing. And you can even write really quickly now with transcripts. It can hear what you're saying and then put that into text. I haven't done any of that, experiment with that yet. And then of course building all the other development of educational knowledge development that needs to be done on your own. So that's kind of like what my problem is. I'm doing all this other stuff. I'm doing the work of too many people, so it's got some bogged down. But if everybody was kind of doing that kind of stuff and getting rewarded for that, then you just reward people for that, and you can completely get rid of schools because it's all automated. The only reason we still have schools is because we're living in a system where a pre-internet system. Like when I first went to college, there wasn't any internet, and so it kind of you could kind of make an argument for going to class that way. But now with internet and Skype and all that, like you can you don't need to go to the infrastructure school or follow other people. You know, people are like, oh, I have a master's in international studies from Brown. Okay, well, the problem with having international studies from Brown is that the guy with the international studies degree from Brown is going to be getting the job over at the State Department, instead of the guy who just has his own international studies. Because they have this rule. They've got this legacy thing. We got to keep the legacy going. Maybe there's this stupid rule in their bureaucracy book. Oh, you have to have a degree. So get rid of those degrees and stuff. If you get rid of all those stupid ass little rules, oh, you have to have this degree from this school because this guy needs to sign off on you so that you can come here. If you get rid of all that, then one guy can go, oh, okay, fuck you, Brown University, you piece of shit fucking teacher. Professors, overpaid professor assholes, fucking arrogant morons, probably aren't even intellectuals anyway. I don't care what you have to say. You're an idiot. I mean, you fuckers put people through the system who run the country, and look at the idiots in power now. Enough said. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give myself international master's degree. And then I'll use international master degree from the University of Me to get my ass on over to the State Department and be ambassador to France. And that's totally possible. If I want to do that, why the hell wouldn't you do that? Just stay focused on that, you know. The problem is if you're like creative like that, you could or if you're not focused, you could get on the one task you need to, you know, you can get sidetracked and try to do all sorts of other stuff. But like, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's the future. Just educate yourself. But in order for that to work, you have to get rid of all these rules. But in order to get rid of the rules, you have to realize that the only reason those stupid ass rules are there in the first place is to protect the little losers who don't even want to play, the lazy idiots. So what I think I'm going to do is just call out people who get rich off of nothing. Like the regents of the University of Colorado, who probably get what a couple $100,000 a year to go skiing in Aspen. And it's like, hey, asshole, like by name, make a fucking website, do some book reviews, please do my biweekly history test, do something. One of the things, open up a YouTube channel. But as long as you're gonna like not play along, then I'm gonna expose you for just being a leech on society. You're just sucking up everybody's money, making everybody go into college debt, and so much college debt that the fucking government's gonna have to forgive it all anyway. And so you're just a leech getting paid for nothing. Why don't you just put some actual knowledge out into the world? And of course, you know, they're going to be like, oh, but I can't because of my job. Oh, really? What's your job? Oh, I can't tell you because, you know, I don't have to. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Why don't you do a video? You know what? You know how they have like these people on YouTube now, like who get a bunch of followers from just talking about their jobs, whether you're a pilot or a doctor or a lawyer or like any job, you know. I saw a guy with window washer, specialized YouTube channels talking about their job. Well, how about a college professor? How about a high school teacher? How about a school board member or more importantly, a college president or a regent for a college? Why don't you tell us about your day and your decision-making tree? Expose yourself, and you're just a bunch of fucking red tape people. Because that's what college is. Like, I don't even remember any classes I took because I wasn't allowed to choose them because they said choose a major. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's this choose your own major thing? She's like, oh, you're not allowed to do that. I'm not going to let you do that because people just choose the easy classes, so choose a major. So I'm like, oh, wow. So there she goes breaking the law again. She wasn't allowed to say that, but I wasn't going to like try to argue her at the time. My advisor, her name was Doreen Yates. So I was like, I should have chosen history, but I was like, all right, English. But because I chose English, I could only choose like a tiny little sliver of because of like classes. Because I guess now I'm like only interested in like English for the rest of my life. And it's like I thought college was about education. Can I take that history? Oh no, not part of your major. Like I was sifted through four advisors in college because they kept it retiring. And like the second to last advisor I had, like pointed out that I had taken all these classes I didn't have to take because my other piece of shit advisor, Dorian Yates, didn't care, just had me take whatever. And so I took like Spanish, and then I took Spanish again because you have to take like I guess a whole year. But I dropped out of it the second one because I had over too much, or I couldn't find it there. It wasn't available, so I had to take French because Spanish wasn't available. But then it turns out because nobody told me because it's written somewhere in their deep in their bureaucracy book that it has to be the same language. So now I had to. So that whole semester of Spanish I took was for nothing. It was just them gobbling up my money. And it's like, oh well, not our fault. You should have looked in the book. Well, I thought that's what the advisor was for. No, the advisor isn't for telling you what classes you need to take to graduate. The advisor is for telling you that they're not going to let you choose your own major, even though that's the whole reason I went to that school in the first place. Because in this case, it was like, hey, choose your own major, choose this because just, oh no, the advisor's job is to tell you you can't choose your own major. You have to choose this one tiny little major, and then you can only take this small, tiny little set of classes. And but I'm not going to tell you all these little stupid rules we have, like oh, when you take the language class, it has to be the same language. It can't be another language. Psych, gotcha. And there's some other things, and that happened too. The classes that I had to take over, and then there's this, and then I was like, this is fucked up. And she's like, hey, you have it good. I remember this one lady I had. She was here for 4 full years, and and then she sent her advisor retired, and she sent me to me. And it turned out in her 4 full years, she was taking just random classes that weren't part of a major, and she had no credits to graduate. She had only had enough credits to graduate for like 1 year out of the 4 years, and she was going to have to go a full 3 more years just to graduate. And she goes, you should have seen the look on her face. Those tears just welling up in her face, knowing she was going to have to do 3 more years. So you really have to watch yourself, boy. This like 79-year-old lady. I was like, oh, really? I have to watch myself? Okay, how about I watch myself by not going to school? How about that? No more games. And then, but in order for that to happen, you have to, you know, because like if you want to be a school teacher, like I can't be a school kid teacher because they didn't let me do the student teaching. I asked when the guy told me 2 years later that they weren't going to place me for student teaching because I got the D minus. I left a message on this motherfucker, Joe Lounges from Durango, Joseph Lounge from Durango, his telephone, and what the fuck, dude? And I was, being polite, but I'm like, he calls back, but he talked to my mom, but he told my mom, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Nobody pays attention to those Colorado teaching certificates from the schools. Just go get a job. And I was like, oh, really? So then I looked, and and then not so long after that, I went to some dinner. I saw a teacher, and I'm like, I told him what they said. He's like, no, you need a college teacher certificate. I looked around. Oh yeah, it's obvious. Everybody knows. Everybody and their dog knows. If you want to be a teacher, you need the college teaching certificate from the college. So there he goes again, just making stuff up. So I'm glad he got fired. He doesn't work at Fort Lewis anymore. He's like works for like science tutors. They have a really stupid ass website. I guess they do field trips for kids where they teach the kids what flowers are what flowers, and they call it science. I don't know what the fuck. He's an idiot. He wasn't even a teacher. He was a computer programmer, and he knew people. He was like friends with Farron Webb, and he had like a master's in like computer programming, and you have to have a master's in order to be a college professor. So he just got fucking shoehorned right in. They get grandfathered in. People can get grandfathered in. It's like bureaucracy from hell, just because you have some fucking certificate. But the only way to get the certificate is by being a faceless person like Putin. You know, so if you show any life, you get knocked out. So that's why you need to get rid of school. I mean, one thing that really pisses me off is people like to complain about the world, but they don't have any solutions. My solution is you get rid of school. But in order to get rid of school, you have to rebuild something, a structure. You have to make school and society like a republic, you know, with all the different rules and regulations and stuff. And so, yeah, so you have to have stuff like the biweekly history test. And then my idea of like condensing time, because that's what life is all about anyway. It's about condensing time. You know, people are like, you know, you accomplish much. How much you accomplish so much? Well, you accomplish things by not wasting time. How do you not waste time? Fucking get rid of school. Don't take these dumbass school classes twiddling your thumbs, doing stuff you don't want to do. Every single time of every single person's day should be spent doing something. And but the only way that people are going to be passionately doing something like that is if you let them loose on something. You know, it's like, oh, I'm a triathlete now. Then they're doing it themselves, managing their own time, so to speak. Like against like not what my mom says. Whenever I'm like, hey, I'll be a triathlete, my mom's like, oh no, stop it now. You need to go get a job at the coffee shop because they'll teach you how to do time management. I'm like, really? And then of course I would explain it to her, and after about a half hour, she'd be like, oh right. She would like snap out of the stupor again, and all of a sudden she's like all for me. But then the next day she's back to, it's crazy. It's like brainwashing. So, 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 so yeah, if somebody does that, you have to, you know, eventually maybe you get paid for it with the UBI. But like you that should count for something that you can use to get it accepted into like the fine-tuned training program or whatever, if you still have to do that. But they shouldn't even have to have programs for anything. Like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, why not just go over to the local cadaver house, you know, and dissect cadavers yourself, you know? It's all a scale of responsibility. The more responsibility you give people, the more responsible they'll be. Less responsibility you give people, the less responsible they'll be, and less you'll be able to trust people. That's why you can't trust like anybody in Russia. Now you got just Russian soldiers getting drunk and blowing people's legs off in Ukraine, you know, and causing harm because they have a crazy guy in power. So that's why I designed this whole system. But you know, in order for but I think, you know, young people should do it. But in order for them to do it, I have to do it myself. But I can't kind of do it myself because there's just so many holes in society and the development of knowledge. Like like nobody rebuilt history on Google Earth for some reason. And if you want to rebuild history on Google Earth, it like takes a long time because the world's a big place and it's been around for a long time. So, and nothing ever really gets lost, so you can rebuild the whole thing from the beginning. So, like, if I wanted to rebuild the Hadrian's Wall, you know, like there goes a chunk of my time, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do so many things. But as soon as I have the time, as soon as I'm done with all that other stuff, like in 2 years probably, I could then do what I'm talking about, where you totally just condense time all on your own. So you get up in the morning, you ride your bike, you listen to a book. You get home, you do the book review of the book on your badass studio, and I'll demonstrate how the studio works. And then every 2 weeks you do the 2-week history test. And that's you. Now, in order to get that system going, people who do that kind of stuff should get paid because people get paid too much for doing bullshit anyway. And so, I mean, that's when I'm going to start. I have my funding page on my website, and that's when I'll start working on that. Like, whether it's siphon money off of the government from educational, from schools, that's the easiest way to do it. Because I don't like the idea of like getting money siphoned off the government for another program. Because there's all these different programs with money coming here and here. Why don't you simplify it by just getting rid of the bulk thing and of the schools, and then have it, I guess you would
and then you would get into the program and then do the activities, the biking stuff, and get paid for it. But in order to get it started, it has to kind of be a little bit more kind of run by more individual people. So you kind of basically you're going to need a benefactor. And also the problem with the world nowadays is that there's too much wealth discrepancy. There's too many rich people with too much money. So you need to go after one of these people who have money. And I don't mean like a doctor. I was I was trying to explain this to my doctor. She was doing like surgery on me or something, cutting out a lipoma. I don't remember, but and I'm like, yeah, you get the rich people to pay for it. And she's like, well, I hope you don't ask me for money. I don't have it. And I'm like, dude, ever heard of a billionaire? um, I'm talking about those people. People with fleets of Ferraris. People with houses that they use as investment, like things. They use this big, damn big ass house as an investment. So nobody can live it in the middle of the town. So you have these ghost towns of empty houses. Those people who have too much money, those people to pay somebody 50,000 a year to make it so that their whole life's mission is to be the very best round, well-rounded person that they can be. But in order to be a well-rounded person, you have to have all of these different tests and all of these different numbers, man. Like 100 of them, like everywhere. What's your number here? What's your level here? And everything, physical and mental, everything. What do you bench? What do you squat? What was your max then? What was your max then? What is your max now? What do you do now? What's this? Well, what's your bicycle 20K time, 40K time, 160K time, 5K, 1K, 200 meters, 50 meters. What score did you get on your biweekly history test in all of the different weeks of the year? How many books have you done a book review on? Which ones? How many pages are on your site? What original things have you developed that needed to be developed? Like if you live in Moscow, have you Googled Earthed all of the good mountain bike trails in the woods around there that haven't been done in that particular section? Like I live in Boulder. I would consider it a big accomplishment to Google Earth all of the Strava segments in Boulder and put it on my website, stuff like that. And so there's like this army of people, and then those kind of people kind of get money. I don't really need money. When I start asking for money, you'll know it. But I'm not going to be asking money for myself. I'm going to be asking money for my protege, because the idea is that you have students and teachers. Like when I say get rid of school, I'm not saying that people need to not be antisocial and just stay in their room and like do Twitch all day long playing video games. What I mean is when you get rid of school, you maintain all of the social structures we've always had. It's just more individually based. So instead of being teacher who hates student and student who hates teacher, who has all power of student and student resents teacher for that, then why not? And then like teacher doesn't fucking participate. Like they're done learning. Now they're all knowledgeable. Like this asshole Joe Lounge. He Joseph Lounge from of Durango still works. He who's probably illiterate himself. He was in charge of like grading, looking at my thing. He didn't have any in my idea, and I'm not even gonna it. The my paper for methods, my educational, was for a 3 week thing you're teaching, and mine was like a research paper. I'm fascinated with proofreading. Whenever I write, I'm always fascinated with how long it takes to write something. Like it took me weeks, like a week, to write 13 pages on the front page of my website. I was writing actually something just last night, just telling a story, just because I haven't written for so long. That was actually another one of the things, because I've been doing some other things. Last night, and it took hours. It was like 3 hours. and it was 850 words. No, it was like 1150 words or something. It was like 4.5 pages or something like that. And I'm still not done. And like, I just love the way that that you can do it now. You can write nowadays. That this wasn't available before, where you can highlight it and then right click speak to text, text to speech, and and it it reads to you, right? And so if there's a misspelling, it's pronounced wrong. If there's like punctuation that's off, you pick up on it. If if there's anything that you forget, if there's any extraneous information, like you pick it up on it because you just concentrate on it and you're just like trying to listen to it as this beautifully written tale, you know, where everything's perfect and like how somebody just loves to read a good writer, you know, and then whenever you hit a bump, you just fix it and then you start over and then you fix it. But that process lasts forever. It lasts forever. It's unbelievable. And sometimes you totally, and it's just fascinating how it all like, how it develops. Like sometimes you cut out complete concepts and then you add new ones. And so anyway, that's what my page was all about. It was the process of going from of rough drafts and then all the different stages from the rough draft to the final, but you save. The idea is that you save all the different stages of it. Because that's not what I'm doing now, and that's because I totally spaced it. I wish I'd have remembered, you know, and if I'd have actually been able to implement that idea, because there's no reason why you can't save it. And like when you save it, you just save it, yeah, and you just number it, you know, and it doesn't take any extra time. You just number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 1,000 or whatever, and then you just file it away in the file, and so that way, in the future, you get to go back and you get to trace, or you get to even publish, because it's super interesting for other people to examine, especially if you become popular, or you know, if you have ancestors to study the process. That is the forensic fucking study of the thought process of somebody. Like their, you know, their bear, and so I was describing the whole process of that and how you would do it as a group in school, because that's a way where everybody can like work together and like and contribute to each other and everything. And anyway, that guy did not understand what the hell I was talking about, and he tried to tell me to do, and I don't even remember. Maybe I wrote it down on my website. I hope I wrote it down on my website. I need to read it again. That's the advantage of writing stuff down. But it made no sense, and it was pretty clear that he was illiterate. And then he told me that I had bad handwriting, which is totally wrong. I have the clearest handwriting of like anybody you've ever met. It's a little bit all over the place. Like I don't stick to the lines, but the letters are all perfectly clear. There's like no distinguishing what the letters are, and that's what's important. And so this fucking asshole, Joe Lounge, is like, oh, look, it crossed the line a couple times. This man's a line crosser. Dude, you should read my mom's writing. You can't read it. None of the letters. You should read most people's writing. The letters don't look like the letters. This fucking asshole didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And that wasn't even one of the things that he failed me out for. He wanted me to change the title of one of the chapters, which was made no sense. And then he wanted me to rearrange something in another one. And see, the thing was, he wanted me to do something, and it was stupid as hell, and it made it worse. And so what I did was I did it, right? And so now I made my thing even worse. So he took it. I gave him an inch, so now he was going to take a mile. So now he's like, oh yeah, you do this and you do this too. Like I don't know why he would think he could get away with treating me like I'm a moron. Because if you read my thing, you could see that I wrote, but maybe he thought I was like illiterate because like he didn't understand what I was saying. I don't know, but so at that point I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm not gonna. This guy's stupid. But he's like antagonizing me with the whole like bad handwriting. And then his asshole buddy Farron Webb like walks up to me like, "You still living in your van?" Because I was living in my van. Like that guy Farron Webb, he calls me in. They called me out of the middle of a class once, and they're like, "Somebody saw you taking a leak outside of the high school." I was like 19. I was taking a leak outside of Durango High after I was tutoring some girl outside because I didn't want to go in and like find the bathroom, and I didn't know anybody could see me. So, anyways, they pulled me out of class, and I was a river guide the whole summer that summer, and we were peeing outside the whole time, and that was just like what I did. And so they were like, "How could you?" The high school principal called me. How could you possibly have? They berated me. How could I possibly allow somebody of your caliber to enter our sacred program, to be involved in their wonderful school, if you're just going to urinate on their property, like as though I was pissing on a building, which I wasn't. It was behind the building, and of where somebody normally wouldn't, do it anyway. And 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 I'm like, dude, I was just taking a leak, dude. Fucking chill out. And he's like, "I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the program at the illustrious Fort Lewis College that accepts people, that begs you to go there, uses all our tax money, and then accepts people to go there who haven't even went to college." I knew a girl who went there, who dropped out of school after 8th grade and got to just be homeless and go to dead shows. I don't know what the fuck they do. Her whole high school never went to school, and then went to college, and then they accepted her, and then probably graduated and became a teacher or whatever the fuck she wanted to do. So I was doing that whole high school for nothing. I could have just not gone to high school and gone to college. And so now I'm at that college, and how could they possibly have accepted a lunatic like me? So he has to ask me to leave, and I'm like, no. Uh-huh. So he's like, "Well, then I'm going to have to ask you to cut off all of your hair." I go, "What the fuck? Where's that written in the rule book?" He's like, "Because when I was your age, I was arrested for crossing the street just because I had long hair in Pagosa Springs where I grew up. And because of that, I need to get back at you by making you cut your hair." And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "No, you have to cut your hair because you're going to distract the kids." I was like, "I'm gonna distract the kids, so they're only going to be paying attention to my hair instead of what I'm trying to say? Like, isn't that their problem if they're going to get distracted by my hair?" He's like, but anyway, so I refused to leave, and I think that's what got under his skin. So they were like, "We're gonna get this fucker. We're gonna get this fucker." So they ended up getting me. The piece of shit Farron Webb and the piece of shit Joseph Lounge, and then there's this piece of shit Tom Bell. You got the piece of shit Doreen Yates, and then you had this crazy bitch Lillian Lang. Fort Lewis College, baby. They were all pieces of shit. There was this bitch from Colorado Springs who gave me a D- in class because, like, I did the bibliography of my paper. It was like Southwest Studies, and all she did was talk about her friends who were like writers in 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 the Southwest, and then she changed her mind for some reason after I wrote the book, the bibliography at the very end of the day, the very end of the very last class when I'm already done. I already wrote it. She goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I don't like take Trabrian book. I want your bibliography to be done like this." And I was like, thinking to myself, "Well, I ain't gonna change it. You're a crazy idiot." I didn't change it, and she got mad at me, gave me a D in the class. So that's like what people like this. I got a D by this guy Tom Blue because I guess he didn't like me, you know, and we didn't even do it in the class. The class was just to hang out. Like, we're supposed to be in the class to do your thing, and I thought I did a good job in whatever project he did. Yeah, dude, just craziness, just lunacy, and that's what we spend all of our time, but more importantly, our money on, and it's extremely expensive. So we need to kickstart this whole self-education thing. So that's why I'm so frantic trying to finish building all these things. I'm building an infrastructure to live, information to go by, to for people who want to ride their bikes all over Boulder County and listen to books while they do it, and then do their book reviews, and they come home. So I won't be done for like another 2 years, but then I want to do it for myself for a couple of years. So if I'm going to take in protege, I won't be ready for another 4 years. So that's where Paula comes in. Paula has a little girl who's 14, and Paula's calling me like, yo, man, like, hook me up, motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. She's like, my kid likes New York, likes America. And I'm like, okay, well, bike school, you know. So we'll just see how cooperative she is, you know. If she's like, if she's gonna continuously be like brainwashed into this whole school idea, go to college, then I'm not gonna be playing ball. And maybe that's where Kirsten could get back in the picture, you know, because she has a kid. She can use her kid as my protege, who's 13. I, uh, but because my mom keeps snapping back, but I need to be able to hook up stuff myself. Like I took up my studio, which is going to take forever. And just all of this takes forever. So that's why you can totally self-automate society the same way that an AI person automates computers. You automate society so that everybody knows the difference between the upper levels and the lower levels, and then of course the people who tend towards this kind of brain set, this kind of mindset. If you make it into the society where everybody has to talk about everything all the time, that means you get to see the spectrum. And if you can see somebody's spectrum, you can get their perspective and you can see their limitations, and then you can start to understand their whole field. You know, so asking like AI guy to talk about philosophy, then you would know what they know about stuff. Or actually, asking a let's see, an engineer. Everybody thinks like a doctor, engineer is so smart, but ask them to talk about politics and history and see how smart they actually are. Like Ben Carson, he's a brain surgeon, made a lot of money on that, so he's supposed to be smarter than everybody about everything. So then he gets appointed by Trump to be director of housing and tells everybody that the pyramids were made to store grain, made by Joseph to store grain. Okay, so if we had a society where everybody had to share everything they know about everything all the time, everybody would have known what Ben Carson was all about from the beginning. And you know, and even like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's there all talking all fast, spouting out all these think tank statistics that support his political ideology. You know, but ask this fucking guy to actually do like a history lesson or take a biweekly history test. You're going to get his perspective and you're going to know what his limitations are and what he knows about and what he doesn't know about. And then people won't worship all these people and think that they're so smart about everything, you know, or think that, oh, you don't have to be smart about know about something else in order you know, because you only have to be smart about this, you know, like if you're only smart on stuff that makes you money, then you don't have to be smart about like about general history, because that doesn't make you money, so it doesn't make you smart. But if you know about history, you can do anything. If you only know about something that's making you money, you can't just switch and go make money on something else. You know, so a lot of the times it's just circumstantial. So that's why you need to have it all automated, society automated. And so that's what my website will explain in words. I love writing, dude. I love writing. You can. I feel like you can convince. You can control the whole world with writing, because if you write well enough, you can get people who read that, like have the text to speech, and then you mix it in with like the data and the pictures, and then like a well developed website like mine with all the functioning links. You can get people who are like minded to jump on board, and then because their minds work a little bit differently than yours, they can relate to certain people that you could not get through to, and it just fucking spreads like wildfire. So that is how we're going to switch to an automated society and get rid of schools. You know, like it's just part of the same pattern. Like the more educated people get, the less autocratic it is. Like, you know, the world became enlightened, and the Enlightenment, you know, people rediscovering ancient Rome and learning how to read, write, printing press. And then, you know, people were too smart to be run by a king, and so they had to get rid of the kingdom in ancient France. And then all of the kingdoms, the monarchies toppled, and then we became a republic where people got to have a say, and because we were more educated, and it's just a sliding scale. And so once we get even more educated, the next level is to topple this false house of card infrastructure where the boss gets to have all the say over everybody and gets paid for doing nothing, known as the educational system of schools and colleges, which costs way too much. So then people can just spend all their time. Because, like, my whole time, I'm super bitter because my whole time in college and high school, I was just twiddling my thumbs, sitting in class, bored out of my mind. And then I was exhausted and I never had time to exercise, no exercise at all. And I wasn't even learning anything. I don't even remember what I learned. When that whole time I could have been busting my ass. I was the same person then as I am now. I could have been reading. Go ride a bike, oh, now read. Instead of like in high school. I had to go to high school, sit and twiddling my thumbs in high school. And then as soon as I get out of high school, I have to go with my job. I had to, a grocery bagger and a furniture polisher. And I wasn't even making much money. And I could have been making money doing my own thing. Starting all of my own businesses. I was a lawnmower, but my parents didn't encourage me for that. I didn't have a car. I was encouraged. I should have done more of that, but I could have been like building fences. I wanted to build a fence around our house, but my dad didn't let me. I could have done that and then used that skill to build fences and made all kinds of money, and then got motivated to learn something and then been some kind of like serial like small business entrepreneur. And but instead, I just had to go to school. Twiddle thumbs, sit there, word out of mind, blah, 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 and then go off and work. So that's my whole day. That's my whole life. It's just sitting around. I mean, that's expensive as hell. You're wasting lives, attaching lives to money, and that's so much money, so much money. So just let people live their own lives. But the reason they don't let people live their own lives is because they think people are not self-motivated. Because I guess people have demonstrated themselves not to be self-motivated, especially now, and those same people in power. You get out of school and then you're just done learning. And so how do you reverse that? You share what you learn and you make it mainstream to be learning and not make it like a secret, a secret of who you are, a secret to learn all that kind of stuff. So that's why you need to, oh yeah, you need to talk about the books you read and talk about all that kind of stuff. So let me tell you really quickly just about the books you need to read. So there was Collapse by Jared Diamond, and it's all these different stories of collapses. They also had the most interesting chapter was when the Easter Island. Easter Island used to be like this paradise, and then they went in, and they know that they have all the dates perfectly. And I don't think these are the same people who made the heads, okay? I think those heads were already there. But they went in and cut down all the trees. Because those heads are already there, because those heads are buried up to their heads. I mean, they were there for fucking way too long. This is just a few hundred years ago. They discovered those islands. Huge population boom, cut down all the trees. Now it's a crash, too many people, not enough resources. Then there's these wars, cannibalism, starvation. People get tiny, small, and weak. And by the time the Westerners went and discovered those islands, it was just like a few people living there, and they were the scraggly little people with tales of like the greatness from a few hundred years in the past, because they went and just decimated it. Then there's the Maori. They went in there, and there were all those giant birds that lived there, the terrestrial and the flying ones, and they killed off all the birds within like 2 generations, within like 50 years, and then when the Vikings tried to go and colonize Newfoundland, Greenland, they died after like a couple generations because they tried to bring cattle and live the same way that they did in Europe, but it was different. They had to hunt seal and not try to like grow anything. And if it had to been the Vikings going and founding that area, maybe like before Christianization, maybe they would have been more capable, but maybe not. So that kind of goes to show like how like vulnerable we actually are. Like, you think Vikings are badass? They can fly out, they can boat out to Iceland and like colonize Iceland. But if they try to go and colonize Greenland, even though there are people already living there, Inuit and Eskimo, they can't do it. They can't even survive because they have to they have to tweak their lifestyle just enough, just a little bit. You know, they have to have a kayak, they have to know how to hunt, you know, then whale and all these little things. It's like little skills. It's interesting. But anyway, so that's an interesting book. There's like 7 different chapters, 7 different examples, and because we need to think about that kind of stuff to make our society sustainable. And then there's this book. Well, I like the Raw books. It's the aliens from Venus telling you about why they built the pyramids and like the evolution of societies and people and all of that. And they're really long books. They're like first one's like 16 hours, second's like 23 hours. And but then there's that book Oligarchs by Hoffman, which you want to read about the beginning of the Russian Empire, because that's kind of how an example of how you can't really have a culture and a country just kind of appear. You know, they have to kind of make all the rules. If you don't make the rules, then they're just going to have chaos and then dictatorship. So and then Generations is the fucking best book that was ever written in the history of mankind by William Strauss and Neil Howe, and they're talking about all the different generation personalities from the 1450 until now, and then even all the different cyclum personalities, the 4 generations within the cyclum, because the 4 generations have different qualities, and analyzing them and like, because they're talking about like inventions of things and how it affected them, and like just the ebb and flow and how everything affected everything going up through time. It was amazing. And then then the guy Howe, the other guy died, but the guy Howe or Strauss, one of them, I think Howe, wrote another book called The Fourth Turning, and he's talking about like the fourth turning and like the generation now, which I also read. But that book Generations is you have to read. So must read. Collapse by Jared Diamond, Generations by Neil Howe, and Oligarchs by Hoffman, just off the top of my head. But there are other books, but I can't remember right now. There's a whole line of books. Like there's this book, Collusion. There's this other book called something about. But they said they were talking about some think tank book they read, and I want to put that on my website. I want to put all those think tank books on my websites, because it gives you a mind into the workings of these crazy dictatorial, capitalists. So libertarians. So anyways, damn, that's like the longest video I've done in a long time. I'm glad my little fucking memory didn't die. I hate it when that happens. But I haven't done a video for a few days, and I just wanted to explain, like, this was like a big kind of like reveal, like my plans for life. I have a kid lined up, ready to go, ready to be 18 in 4 years to be my protege, as long as I don't have to deal with college brainwash. If I'm dealing with brainwashed motherfuckers, I ain't playing. But by the time that time comes around, I don't need a protege, by the way. My website will be good enough that other people could use my website to get ideas to get their own damn proteges. And I can finally be my own person and like go out and adventure around and be an athlete. That's what I've always wanted to be, as an athlete. I wanted to be as a kid, but then once I got 23, I like freaked out and I was like, oh shit. Because I don't think I can afford it, because my mom wouldn't have let me. I could have moved in here and figured it out, but I felt like I needed to learn Spanish. I don't know, man. I just wish I'd been allowed to do it when I was younger. You need to be, that's why 18 is the perfect age to do that kind of stuff, because you need to be young enough where your brain isn't clouded yet by all these things you want to do. And all these ideas that you want to do, and all these things you want to write, and all these like people you want to meet, and like, starting a family or whatever. Like when you're a blank slate, like you can totally focus 100% on the athletic side of it, and use the body that you have that can heal from injuries and get strong and stay lean, and and then have fun just learning randomly whatever you want to learn every day, and just going by the flow every day of how you feel. That is how life needs to be lived. But in order for that to happen, you need to have a society where people are able to be exposed, which means that the people who want to hide can't have the power over the people who want to be able to be exposed in order to protect themselves. And so, in order to do that, is you actually have to either have people who are independently wealthy like me to set it up, or people who are young enough to have parents who are willing to help them, or people who can have a benefactor to help them just ride their bike all day long and create YouTube videos. And I'm saying you need a benefactor because people are like, oh yeah, go and make money on YouTube. They're talking about ads. That is a goddamn zero sum fucking game, you idiots. Not everybody. If everybody made videos, you can't make fucking money on ads. It's a simple mathematical fucking equation, you monkeys. Therefore, you have to fund people doing videos in another way, and that's with the rich people who have way too much money. And then once it evens out, you can have the government pay it. But the idea is that the people who do the most best work online are the ones who get rewarded. Okay, the ones who are lazy and don't want to do it or don't have the talent or whatever can just get the basic UBI and fucking try their best to stay out of trouble. But if they do any trouble, the police officers will be on your ass and throw you in jail for the rest of your life. Okay. So we need to have, protect the people who are smart, and the riffraff needs to get thrown in jail where they can't do problems for everybody else, and all the idiots in between need to play ball and not be afraid to be exposed for being an idiot here, but if they're good here, be good there. You know what I mean? Spectrum. So the rainbow spectrum. So anyways, I've talked enough. I think I can get my idea across better when I write, and I have all my ideas do like that. But who knows when that's going to happen? I've got way too many things. Right now, I'm just I don't even care how long it's going to take me. So that's why it's a perfect mindset for me to be in. I've got my mom under control. I've like, if she ever bothers me, get a job or whatever, or start riding her bike, I'll be like, you know where this is going. Sign the thing. Oh, I'm not going to sign the thing. Then stop telling me. Okay, then let's go and on a bike ride. Stop talking about it. So we're getting along. And I think there is some character arc with my mom. She is starting to remember things that I tell her. So anyways, enough talking. I'm gonna go smoke some more weed. Oh my god, that whole lung collapse thing. I was smoking way too much. That was crazy. I wish I could go get an energy drink. Maybe I'll go ride my bike out to the store now and get one. Because the stores are closed. But I need to get some exercise. I think maybe my lungs collapsed, and I think maybe that was actually a little bit legitimate lung collapse. Like the only way to get out of it, I had to stand up. I had to walk around, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And like, I mean, I'm lucky I have a roommate in case something shit hits the fan. But that's because I was just laying in bed for more than 24 hours. I have to at least get up and walk around, like go to the store, get like vertical and walk at least once 24 hours, or else I'm gonna be dealing. It's like one of those beached whales that the weight of their body just collapses them. That's like what kind of feels like what's happening. So anyway, enough talking. Oh no, low battery. Hey, low battery. I gotta go. Talk to you tomorrow.